So what I'm going to say is probably a little bit contentious in the light of where big law firms sit in the media today. I am in a big 3 law firm. It's full of, if you read anything in the media, those Pākehā males that are over 50 that have immense power and abuse it, and they turn that power to sexual harassment and bullying. So I've had 4 forks in my road of my journey, and all of those have been directly controlled, directed or influenced by the 50-plus Pākehā male. This story, however, is actually in defence of what we describe as the pale male and stale, as without those 4 people, who I now regard as mentors, I would not be where I am. And if the HR department of Chapman Tripp is watching at the moment, I'm going to be having a performance review tomorrow. My early years were defined by the fact that I was the eldest and adored grandchild on both sides. It was defined by my grandmothers, one a West Coaster, one of 13, who owned her first pair of shoes at age 10 and taught me to play poker by the age of 5. It's a really handy tool. The other was country gentry who believed in higher education, and in those days she was a rare working spouse while her husband stayed at home. They had friendly fights in the weekends over which one gained me for the weekend, and one had an extroverted personality who loved people, and the other had a love of learning. Cool. Not so with my grandfathers. Shadowy characters always in bed. One had Parkinson's, I learnt later, and the other was a chronic alcoholic living in the gutter, drinking mess type. So because of this, I've developed what I now know to be an unconscious bias. I hope it's now conscious, that women are outgoing, social and brainy, and men are, well, a waste of space. Because of this, I grew up absolutely with no fear of the older man, and an absolute belief that women were always stronger in all respects. Now, this is a bias that I have to deliberately fight, particularly when I remind myself not to compare my 16-year-old monotone son with his bubbly and intelligent older sister. So here I am now at Christchurch Girls High School in the 6th form with straight A's. First kick in the pants comes when the school suggests that for the benefit of the learning of the others in the class, perhaps I best don't return for the 7th form. So off I went and got my first job, and I went to that male bastion of what is now known as PwC accountants. No, I didn't go as the office manager, I went as the office junior. So what did I do? I washed coffee cups, I photocopied boring bits of paper, picked up dry cleaning. And this is where my first of 4 male influences entered, and this is Barry. He was PwC's first HR director. He was pale male and stale. He'd come out of the army, and he was there to encourage young male graduates to make partner in PwC and to make lots of money for the firm. The career aspirations of the office junior was not in his job description. Unbeknown to me, I wasn't cutting it as the office junior. I thought I rocked. But it was then that he took me to what would be in a completely inappropriate context today, which was a discussion in a bar, to tell me that he had had complaints from the partners about the thickness of the cheese that I was cutting to put on the crackers. So, over a number of those, what would now be inappropriate discussions in a bar, he took time at the age of 50, me 18, to suggest that another option might be to do 7th form by correspondence while sitting on the reception desk at PwC, sit bursary, and he took me in his bambina to what would now be the equivalent of the UC Open Day and enrolled me in law school. So how does a 50-year-old ex-army guy pick that in an 18-year-old? I don't know. So let's skip some years, merge with a first-class honours degree in law, thanks Barry, and I'm working in a law firm, and I get awarded the Law Society's Cleary Memorial Prize for young lawyers showing most promise to the profession. I do recall surprise at this, surprise I had a first-class honours degree, surprise I got the Cleary Memorial Prize. These things just seem to happen to me, a bit like winning the meat raffle. So then I go to a law firm, and here comes the second major mentor. Now, I have to say this is a deeply flawed individual who would not be the poster child for how to behave as a partner in a law firm today. He was arguably one of New Zealand's most powerful individuals in law and in directorships in New Zealand companies. Looking back, because I had no fear of the 50-plus males, the situations I ended up in now would be completely, absolutely unacceptable. I wanted to be where the action was. I wanted to be on the deal at 2 a.m. When there was a function in a bar, I wanted to be there. When there were 40 men at a function, I was saying, you're not going without me. When the litigation was in Hawaii, I'm on the plane in first class sipping cocktails and sitting on the beach in Waikiki. I learnt so much by sticking to him like glue. I have no idea why he invested so much time in me, other than years later a letter was written to me by his secretary to say she'd been having an affair with him for 10 years, and if he was ever to sack her, which he would, she wanted the powers to be to know what had occurred. By that stage, I was the powers that be. Anyway, I cannot express enough gratitude, whatever his motives, for the opportunities I got, and that no young female law will ever get now. When the firm I worked in split in two and the Chapman Tripp partnership was formed in Christchurch, he made my partnership in Chapman Tripp a deal breaker. So here I am by now, a partner in Chapman Tripp, which is one of the top 3 firms in New Zealand, and I'm not yet 30. Again, I just happened to be in the right place, the meat raffle. So what I haven't mentioned is that just prior to this, I met influencer number 4. I'll come back to him, but Julie, what I'd done was, like all my friends in their late 20s, I'd written the list, found someone brainy, good-looking, outgoing, married him, all looking good. I then hit a bump. 3 months after I scored that partnership in Chapman Tripp, I discovered I was unplanned pregnant. I was just devastated. I was on the crest of a wave, and this was a major setback. Now, my husband and I had a little talk, and I imagine it was a bit like the one that Jacinda and Clark have had, along the lines of, I'm the rock star in this relationship. Here is our 6-week-old daughter, and you deal with that. That's all looking good, and a couple of years later, we had another one, and I hand that one a boy this time over. So it just... Can I keep going? Okay. Bridget and Bronwyn, you meant to have pom-poms anyway. So look, it gets better. One of my clients was Ryman Healthcare. This is one of those clients that I loved. Kevin Hickman was the founder and CEO of the time and is probably the person I admire most in life. He's also pale, male and stale. He is a man of few words and the humblest person I know. He came to me and said, we don't want you to be our lawyer anymore. Here's another conversation with a 50-year-old male in a bar. He told me that instead he wanted to be a director of Ryman. There was no IOD courses for me. He said, just go to the board meeting, be yourself and don't stuff it up. So there you go. I'm now a partner in Chapman Tripp and also a director of one of New Zealand's most outstanding companies and the darling of the NZX. Okay, so here goes the trough. So this all looks good. By 2013, my husband didn't seem so great. I was working more and more, and he was clearly not coping with the kept man title. I misread it and put it down to the stress of the earthquakes. The reality is, and I hope Jacinda and Clark have done a better job of negotiating this, you can't have a relationship where one is in a stellar career and the other, particularly a male, feels unneeded. It really came down to I just really didn't need him. And other than as a caregiver to my children, he had no role, a bit like in the same way my grandmothers had the relationships with their husbands. That's when one of my needy friends started showing up during the day, and as the damsel in distress, he duly left for her and my world fell apart. I'm nearly there. I remember the day he left. We had agreed 50-50 custody for the kids. He told me I was a crap mother, that I had no idea how to look after them as I hadn't been doing it for the previous 10 years, and within a month I'd be out of town on a case and he would have full custody. They say you've got to hit rock bottom before change, and boy did that do it. I scaled back work, begs the question why I didn't do it before, stopped doing overnight cases out of town, promoted a young lawyer to partner who was arguably not quite ready, and I reinvented myself as a mother of, by that stage, 11 and 13-year-old. Within a year, my daughter was living with me full-time, and within 2, my son was living with me full-time. So today, I'm a not as busy partner in Chapman Tripp. I'm still a Ryman director, and I'm the solo mother of a 16 and 18-year-old who have not spoken to their father in 12 months. My ex-husband is probably right. I was a crap mother. I'm hopeless with little kids. I'm just no good at Jimbaroo and gingerbread men. My kids joke and reckon they should have been taken away at birth and given back when I was 11. I'm an awesome mother of teenagers, not just mine, but lots of others too. My house is a railway station, so much so that my new partner lives 100 metres down the road in his own house because he can't stand the noise, mess and all the people. So pretty much that's my last life for the next few years. So I just want to end this with just one little anecdote. A daughter of a friend rang me last week, a wee while ago. She was working in a big law firm in Auckland, and one of the male partners had asked her out for dinner in Auckland. She asked me if that was weird. I don't know the partner. I have no idea of his track record. I told her in the wake of Russell McVeigh, it is weird. I've reflected on that, and I struggle with what I told her now. That could have been her HR director at PwC, or it could have been her Kevin Hickman. And I think a better answer would have been, and Lucy, you've probably got some comments on that, to basically tell her to trust her intuition and to deal with the situation the best way she felt. I really do feel I gave her the wrong advice, and I see a young solicitor who's now passed over an opportunity that may have been the type of opportunities that I had that were those forks in the road. So, yeah.